Well, hey there, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger, and this video I'm going to recommend a movie, and I'm going to talk a little bit about just some stuff relating to making music and specifically noise music. So, last night we watched this Sisters with Transistors, and it's a documentary which I really enjoyed. Think of early electronic music. You'll likely see men pushing buttons, knobs, and boundaries. While electronic music is often perceived as a boys' club, the truth is, from the very beginning, women have been integral in inventing devices, techniques, and tropes that would define the shape of sound from years to come. As one of the film's subjects, Laurie Spiegel, explains, we women are especially drawn to electronic music when the possibility of a woman composing was in itself controversial. Electronics let us make the music that could be heard by others without having to be taken seriously by the male-dominated establishment. This movie features segments with Clara Rockmore, Delia Derbyshire, Daphne Oram, Bibi Barron, Elaine Radigue, Marianne Amaker, Pauline Oliveros, Suzanne Kiani, and Laurie Spiegel. So this is electronic music's unsung heroines. It's narrated by Laurie Anderson, but they do not have a segment featuring Laurie Anderson, which I was kind of expecting that. Bibi Barron did the soundtrack for a movie called Fantastic Planet, which there's a real interesting part in there about the musicians union, how they did not consider it music. They called it tonalities. Daphne Oram set up the BBC Radiophonic Workshop, which is like, if you know about noise, that's like the center of the universe for this type of thing. Delia Derbyshire worked there. She came up with the Doctor Who theme. I believe it took her 40 days. Now, that's not saying she was a slacker. That Delia, she loved her naps. They didn't have a sampler or anything like that. It was just some tape machines. So it's quite an amazing accomplishment that what Delia was able to do over those 40 days and come up with. Is it not the coolest sounding piece of music in the history of music? I believe it is. Clara Rockmore, theremin virtuoso. More on her later. So here there's a trailer. I forgot her name. This is an interesting clip with Letterman, who's got her on there. It's worth watching that in its entirety. Sisters with Transistors. See what I did there? So this woman, she has a really cool all-white looking exhibit with some noise in a museum. I forget really what that was all about. Here she is with her synthesizers. This is ORAM. Oh, this is so cool. She had her own little corner where she set up these 3 tape machines. Looks like some sort of a matrix, switching matrix. Maybe it's a mixer, maybe it's some filters, a couple of sine wave generators, a couple of tape decks. Is that a DC power supply? And that looks like a Morse code dinger. Oscilloscope, speaker cabinet with, is that, I hope that's a little tube amp. Certainly looks neat. This woman didn't smile a lot. She was out in the 50s and an electronic musician artist. She did some amazing field recordings and just really astoundingly cool stuff with audio. Here she is, Clara Rockmore, theremin virtuoso. Paying attention to her right hand while you perform always makes me burst out laughing. She was a really talented violin player from what I understand. Same with that Oram. Oram was a pianist. So she fell in with, I think Leonid Theremin was in love with her, and he would go around the world demonstrating this theremin contraption to the elites and bring her out to perform it, because she is an amazing master of the theremin. Here's Oram with some patch bays and her tape loops. Look at that. How could you not love this woman? She looks like somebody's grandma, but she knows more about tape loops than any of us watching this video combined. Sisters with Transistors. There's Oram herself. Now this movie, it got a 7.5 on IMDb, a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes. Here's where I watched Sisters with Transistors, on lookmovie.io. I watched it for free here. I also used a browser which is called the Brave browser. This is it here, Brave. It's got a lion. That Brave browser is going to eliminate all of the nasty pop-ups that you normally would have to deal with on Look Movie or any other free gray area streaming service site. So, this movie, I really enjoyed it. I really did. It's a little bit long considering the scope of it, like how many artists they try to cram in there. But hey, I watched the 3-hour cut of I Dream of Wires, and I don't know how many people came up to me, "Oh, you got to watch this movie." I said, "Did you watch the 3-hour cut or the hour?" "Oh, I didn't know that. I saw that it was like 90 minutes." Okay. Next. So, I'm obviously a dude, and I was born in the late 60s, so I've handed all this white privilege. My family never accepted. My mom died in July, and she's gone. She never accepted the fact. Well, I don't want to say never. I played a bass at a church for about 3 years, and in that period of time, she appreciated what I was able to do as a person who likes to play around with music. So, but for the most part, most of the people that I know in real life, not the internet. The internet has been very kind to me, very kind about making music. But in my real world, I feel persecuted, if that's the word. Like, I've been accused of, this is like evil, what I'm doing. Wasting my life. You know, it's just one of those things. And how could they not? When you say I'm a guitar player, now people think of the meme, the trope that was created post-grunge of the guy who looks like he's in the Ramones, the guitar player, who, you know, he's on dope. He needs a ride to the methadone clinic because his girlfriend's car broke down at the pizza place. And all, you know, the hair metal invasion of MTV did not help. Cinderella was a great band, but they had bad luck. Poison, Winger, Warrant, all that stuff, not good. White Lion, no. Okay? So there's a real lot about this business of rock and roll which I despise. I loathe it. And I can't even imagine what it would like to be a woman in the 50s, like that woman, she was out. Like, man, I can't imagine the amount of heat she took. And just like when you consider if you are a successful artist, the opportunities you would have compared to these women were faced with one option, and that was do it all yourself. Some of them were even making the circuits, which I could identify with a lot of that. So it's not to say that, oh, I have had so much struggle. It is to say that I could identify with some of what these poor women had to deal with, the prejudice, bigotry, all that ridiculous stuff that impeded them. And a lot of this is, you can choose to let it get to you, or you can get on with it and do what needs to be done, you know? And I'm certainly not saying, oh, I'm this Jedi Master and nothing gets to me and this is not the droids you're looking for. Last year I met someone who was like involved in the noise scene in another country. And I sampled some of their work and made some noise pieces, and the person took a look at me and what I was doing and kind of wrote me off and made these statements like the work that I was doing, it wasn't noise, it was music. You know, I'll take a day and I'm like, I can't just waste another day. I need to make something, so I'll use a mouse and a QWERTY keyboard and put together a sound collage digitally, and then I'll edit a kaleidoscopy video, call it a noise piece, and upload it to my. And I've done that. There's some stuff that I've done that I'm really proud of, and the last few things that I did that fall under that category, I think are the finest pieces that I had ever done. And then I stopped. And last night watching this thing, I was inspired, meaning I heard something that I wanted to steal and recreate. And I thought, gee, you haven't done that in a long time. Why is that? And then I remembered this guy. And that he made me feel like what I was doing was not, like, the only way you're allowed to consider to do this is if it's harsh wall of noise. Now, he didn't come right out and say that. He said that his pieces were always missing these traditional elements of rhythm, harmony, and melody that were found in the works that I had produced. So he kind of painted it like it was a compliment, but then I read on his regular feed on his wall, he said how, like, the only real art is pure harsh wall noise, and how much he hates, like really hates, any of those traditional elements when they pop up in a noise work. So it made me feel like this, and since then I stopped. So one of the benefits that I experienced from watching this film was it motivated me to consider, hey, you need to do that again. You were doing that every once in a while, and it was cool. And it's not so much that I will get millions of views on a video and get a check to pay my rent from YouTube. It's not that, believe me. If I put something up that says Neugen Schlumpfen Rumpfen 137, whatever I call these things, I'll get maybe 6 views on it. You know. That being said, if YouTube counted my views, there would be 600 because of me rewatching it, because of how much I like the piece, because I love this stuff. I really do. It's right up there with the normal music that I make. And if you want to be critical or analyze it, there's 2 different types of people. The people that are making noise because they can't make any other type of music, or the people that can make legitimate, really nice sounding recordings of themselves playing instruments, but they choose to also make this stuff. Because my impression of the way my mind works is, I'm not really going to be interested in hearing some joker who's just plugging an AC cord into a transformer and the other end of the transformer into his audio interface. But that's really the vibe that I got from the expert. So we can go and take a look, so you understand exactly what I'm getting at. Merzbow is a Japanese noise musician, came out in '96. Pulse Demon. It's an hour and 13 minutes of static, of screeching, screaming, viciously unadulterated static. Now, I saw a review of this album, and the guy, he said that he was halfway through it and he realized how brutal it was. I question, do people even listen to that? Or do they buy it so they can play it when other people are around and say, look at how weird I am? Like, it seems like an Emperor's New Clothes thing to me. And I'm not interested in making that type of music. Maybe I should. Maybe for 6 years I should just, go to the airport, record a jet engine warming up, loop that for 77 minutes, and call it Jet 77 and release it as an album, I certainly, after 6 years of that, you would be welcome to hear one of my regular music pieces, I think. And I like that harsh wall noise thing. To me, that says one thing. You don't even know how to tune a guitar. You don't know, maybe you can tune it, but can you play it? Probably not. That's why you're making harsh noise. And your reaction and hatred for society or music that takes some effort is fed directly by your fear and the knowledge coming out that what you're doing is such an unbelievably easy cop-out. That, yeah, you can release a noise album every day. If you have enough gumption to wake up and record noise static for 60 minutes and then quickly come up with the artwork and throw it up on SoundCloud or Music Genie or DistroKid or whatever, you could become the most, you could be more prolific than Buckethead. But is anybody going to want to listen to it? Or is this something that they're buying for shock value to add to their collection so they can have the weirdest stuff known to man? It's the emperor's new clothes is what it is to me. It's obvious. The point is, yes, as people who dabble in making this type of art, it's real easy to let stuff get into your head and mess with you. It's best to set yourself free from all of that and concentrate on the work. Just work. Just do it. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. If you like it, it's good enough for you, and that's all that counts. And as we age, hopefully we get better at what we do. If you listen to my earlier recordings, I wish I would have done this more. I wish I would have started way before I started. I let reading about things like compressors, limiters, and EQs mess with me to think that this was beyond my reach, when really the earlier you start, the quicker you're going to get to the point where I'm at now, where the stuff that I spend a little bit of time and maybe a little bit of money. This last album cost me like maybe $175. I bought some really nice monitors and a few other things, and now I'm basically set for recording. So I wish that would have happened earlier. I recorded something in '96 that I let it mess with me, thinking how could I top it, and I should have just moved on. I should have just immediately jumped in and recorded again. So now at this point, I'm forcing myself to do it in January, and that's how it is. In the meantime, I should be recording some demos and some noise pieces. So I'm still kind of working the electronics and getting the rig finished, but look for some more music. Hopefully soon I'm going to be jumping in and writing again, but I'm still building pedals. I did 2 cab sims last night, and I have to box one up maybe today. I've got a Benson preamp I have to finish. I've got a distortion box that needs to be boxed up, and hopefully I don't get any more bad ideas. I get musical ones. All right, you guys, enjoy the movie. Don't let them get to you. Do what you need to do. And peace.